Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host, as usual, and welcome back to the show. Obviously, today's episode 74 of the show, so one more episode, which is going to be this Friday, and we're going to hit 75 episodes, which is incredible. Like, granted, I didn't hit my goal that I wanted to hit 100 episodes before the, what's it called? Before the 1 year anniversary, which maybe if I do like episode every day, then probably can, but it really depends if you guys want to hear me talk for like every day for like an entire week. So, but aside from that, obviously this has been a very incredible year so far. The year is far from over. And obviously I've been a very busy person during this time because, you know, it's obviously my finals in college. There's so much going on. Like, it's just, oof. It's definitely crazy. And so far the finals have gone really well. Really well. And I'm excited to go home and just to get some time with my family and, you know, have some fun with my friends back home. But aside from that, obviously we have an episode to do because that's why you guys came here to listen. You didn't come here to hear me ramble, even though we could do that for hours if I wanted to. But today's episode is a very special one because it's not, I'd say it is scripted. I will say that. But at the same time, it's not so scripted because it's more driven by my analysis of what I've done for the past few months, because as you guys are aware, my phone for the past few months has been the Oneplus 7 Pro, and that's why today's episode is going to be focusing on my experience with the Oneplus 7 Pro. And yes, it will be similar to what I did with the LG V50. The only difference is instead of like a whole week with the phone, which I had a whole week with the LG V50, this one is more of it 4 months because I've had my OnePlus 7 Pro since August 8th. Yeah, like August 8th. And obviously, if we count from months, because obviously September, October, November, December. So I've had this thing for 4 months, and it's been very interesting because I had a lot of expectations going into it when I bought my OnePlus 7 Pro. Because obviously when I bought it, the spec model, well, specifically the spec model that I bought, because as everyone that knows what the OnePlus brand is, you know that they have there's obviously different versions, obviously. You know, there's the 6GB of RAM version, the 8GB, and then obviously the 12GB. And mine was the middle of the pack. It was the 8GB, 256GB of storage models. And that roughly starts at, I believe it starts at like $699, but I got it for $674 is what I got it for. And it was a good deal when I saw it because at that time I still had my Pixel 2 XL, and I was like, look, this thing's definitely getting slower. Like, it's already 2 years old, you know, like it's pushing it. And I was like, okay, it's time for an upgrade. I definitely want something new. And I was like, okay, what do I want to get? Because anyone that's aware of the smartphone market in 2019, this has been a very hectic year for phones. Many, many good phones this year. Many good phones. We're not going to understate that. And for OnePlus specifically, it's been a very good year for them. Obviously, they released a total of, 4 phones? We had the OnePlus 7, the OnePlus 7 Pro. We had the OnePlus 7T, and then we had the 7T Pro. And then obviously the 7T Pro has a 5G model that's only on T-Mobile, but you know, aside from that. And obviously in the US, the only ones we got were the OnePlus 7 Pro, the OnePlus 7T, and obviously the 7T Pro from T-Mobile because it's the 5G model. And this has been a very crazy year for OnePlus because obviously this is the first time that they genuinely make a flagship. Yet they position one of their phones as a flagship because that's what the 7 Pro was when it came out. This is not a mid-ranger. This is advertising itself as a flagship for less money. And obviously, yes, we're in a very very weird time, especially, I'm not going to say weird time because OnePlus has always been a very popular brand. They've all, especially as the years gone by, and they've continued to grow because obviously this is them celebrating 6 years as a company. And, well, not as a company, but 6 years of their growing fan base, I think it's a better term to use. And obviously, I've been very familiar with the OnePlus brand. I've been keeping up with them since the 3 and the 3T. And I've recommended a lot of OnePlus phones to people that are looking just for one of the fastest Android experiences they can get for, for a good affordable price, And obviously, my friend Ryan, or Rydog, I recommended the OnePlus 3T to him. He really liked it. And then I eventually got the OnePlus 6, which was my first one. And then obviously something happened there. It was hard for me to switch and give up my Pixel because I really loved my Pixel. And then obviously fast forward, and now we have the 7 Pro, the OnePlus 7 Pro. And I think starting with the phone itself, because, as a daily driver, and I'm going to specify this as well because I made 2 different categories, the daily use and then the heavy use. Anyone that knows me for a while now knows that I've been very heavily pushing towards wanting to do more content creation with the phone and, being more mobile. And I think to me with the daily experience, especially starting with the daily experience, is this phone is amazing. For a daily driver, it is incredible. Like, cell service is really good. Wi-Fi reception is really good as well when I'm in, obviously in a good space. In terms of, actually just using the phone for general use, scrolling and everything, the 90 hertz display really comes in clutch, and it makes things so smooth, and it's just so relaxing. It's so fun just using it for daily use. It really is. Obviously, if you're just looking at Instagram, Snapchat, really nice. I'd say for the daily things, it definitely does really well. Now, obviously, when we transfer into the heavy use case, this is where I definitely have more fun with it, especially because a lot of people have noticed this when they always complain about OnePlus raising the price of their phones, but you also have to keep in mind that, more premium parts require, a little bit of a more expensive price tag. That's just how logic and, the economy works. Is if you put more expensive parts into a phone or something in general, you're going to have to charge a little bit more. And that's just, that's logic. That's common sense. And obviously with the OnePlus 7 Pro, OnePlus definitely did something very incredible because this is their first phone, like I said, where they pushed it as a flagship. So obviously we're talking about, QHD plus display. We're talking about almost bezel-less display with 6.71 inches of goodness. Obviously dual speakers, one in the earpiece, one bottom firing. Triple cameras, the motorized selfie camera to help, get the camera off the front so you can have the display, obviously top of the line specs, especially in terms of storage. That's where it got very interesting. And then another piece that, costs money for reasons. And obviously, like I said, mine is the 8 gigabytes, 256 gigabyte model. And obviously, one other thing they did was the UFS 3.0 storage, which is incredible read and write speeds for mobile phone storage. So it definitely is much faster. And then obviously the heat pipe inside of it, which helps maintain thermals with heavier processes. And, that's why a lot of people always draw comparisons to this phone and the 7T, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But obviously, yes, in terms of hardware and heavy use, this is where this phone definitely excels the most because it's able to, if you've seen Juan talk about it, because obviously every time Juan's come on the show, he's always mentioned this specific quote, or not quote, but he's always said this, that, he believes that the OnePlus 7 Pro is definitely the best computer phone or computational device because of how good it is. It's just an incredible device that if you had say a laptop shell for a phone, it would be a great brain for the phone because it just is that powerful. And overall, yes, I agree with that because when I did a little bit of video editing with my OnePlus 7 Pro, it definitely breezed through that stuff. Obviously, in terms of gaming, it also performs incredibly well as you could imagine, especially with all the specs inside of it. And obviously, the heat pipe maintaining thermals, and it runs phenomenally well. And in terms of a little bit heavier use, there's a lot of features that I like. inside of this phone overall. And especially, like, we're not even talking about the software yet, because software is where OnePlus always shines, and it's where people always have the debate between the Pixel line and OnePlus's phones, because it makes it feel like stock Android doesn't really feel like what Android should feel like. It doesn't feel like what Android should be. And obviously Oxygen OS is many people agree it's their favorite skin of Android, because of how not only light it is and fast and responsive, but at the same time with all the features that's built inside of it. Really, really good customizations. And obviously it's really nice. And obviously OnePlus has definitely been improving Oxygen OS. And also at the same time, in terms of software updates, OnePlus is always a little bit more consistent than I'd say companies like Samsung and LG. Like, they're more consistent. But obviously OnePlus has been a little bit slacking this year, which I'll dog them for that, because they have been a little bit slow this time around. Specifically this year. Like, yes, I will say this. The OnePlus 7T did launch with Android 10. So we can say that. It did launch with Android 10. But obviously the OnePlus 7 Pro and the 7 took a while to get Android 10. And same thing with the 6 and 6T. It took them a while. That some people had to, and it's essentially what I ended up doing too, because I didn't get I was stuck on Android 9 in the September security patch for, well, obviously September. So I've been stuck on that since, September, and it wasn't until recently when I found the Android 10.0.2 file that was, the full version. And one thing I will say, this is also a benefit to OnePlus too, that I like, that you can actually load in you can download the update, the Android update, and move it to your phone. Just move it to any, like, obviously download, copy, paste it into the storage, the internal storage of the phone. And then from there you can do a local upgrade, and that way it just upgrades your phone locally, and then you just get the update right then and there. And it's definitely really nice. To be honest, it really is nice to do that. It was my first time doing it, and I've been loving the Android 10 update for the OnePlus 7 Pro for a while now. It's been really nice. It's definitely improved some of the things that I didn't like, and I'll get to that in a bit, because specifically when we go towards battery life, that's when I'm going to have a little bit of discussion. But in terms of heavy use, overall, with gaming performance, it's been incredibly smooth and buttery. Obviously, the 90 hertz display helps a lot, for games that can obviously are meant to handle it, And overall, in terms of video editing, it's been a very smooth device to use. It's obviously with the big display, it's been very helpful. It's definitely shown great promise, especially because if you look at a lot of Juan's videos too, where he does his tests and everything, it performs incredibly well. Like, it does really well on those tests. And so overall, to me, the OnePlus 7 Pro, in terms of heavy use and daily use, it's a phenomenal device. I definitely give it a good rating in terms of those uses, because it's where, the daily use is what's very important for most people, because it's considered the average consumer space, which, is semi-true. And then obviously the heavy user case, for the heavy users, they're going to like this thing. Now, going into battery life, I think to me with battery life, I haven't had per se bad experience with battery life. It's been like middle of the road to like excellent, or great. I think it's better, because excellent would mean I get the 2 days. That's what I would mean by excellent. But it's been good to great. There's definitely some days where I can go the entire day and I would get about 4 hours and 50 minutes of screen on time, or sometimes I would get 6 hours and 50 minutes. So I would range it between 5 to 7 hours of screen on time. So that's actually pretty good. But obviously, like a lot of people also say when it comes to screen on time with smartphones, that is not a good indicator for battery life, because, it varies because of use cases, And with me, I think the days where I almost killed the phone pretty early was because of just having a lot of devices connected on Bluetooth. So I would have my earbuds and my smartwatch connected. And obviously with my smartwatch being on all the time, it also, Bluetooth's on all the time. So it's it's definitely always draining. But obviously when I stopped using my smartwatch because I was getting a rash on my arm or on my wrist, don't worry, it's fine now. But that I stopped using my watch, and obviously my battery life increased. But obviously battery life to me with the OnePlus 7 Pro, because obviously it has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, but you also have to keep in mind, the more powerful parts you can put inside of it, it's obviously going to drain that battery a little bit quicker. Clearly, obviously 90 hertz display, 855, definitely more powerful parts inside of it that are going to drive this phone. But you also have to keep in mind that it has the 30-watt supercharger, or the warp charge is probably the better term to use because, well, actually, yeah, that's what it's called, the 30-watt warp charge. And it's definitely, it lives up to its name. Like, I would always, and this is what I always do with the phone when I need to charge it, that I would let the phone sit overnight. It would still have a good amount of battery left. And then when I wake up in the morning, at least I would wake up, because there's instances where I wake up earlier than I'm supposed to. Like, I just wake up randomly. And when I do that, I just plug in my phone. And then when I actually wake up to go to class and everything, that my phone's fully charged and I'm good to go. And I start, because it charges really quickly, because I only sleep like those moments where I wake up, I always sleep like, I wake up, I look at the time, plug in my phone, and then sleep for like an extra hour, and then I go get ready and then leave. But that's always what happens. And my phone's always 100%. It's great. And I take it and I start on a full day. And I obviously last the whole day as well. Like, I'm never short on battery life. Like, it lasts the whole day. And it's been really nice. And for me, a whole day starts, like, depending on the day, there's some days where I would wake up, start at 8 in the morning, and then I would fall asleep like at 12. And then obviously, like, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those would be days where I would wake up at 9 in the morning and then obviously go all the way till midnight as well. So definitely a long day, But overall, battery life, like I said, battery life is a very subjective thing, but to me, it's been good to great. I think that's the best way I can put it. Now, going into the camera, because this is where I'll be honest with y'all, because it's always the area that OnePlus phones always struggle the most, Like, we've known this for a while. These phones have always been great performers when it comes to actual raw performance and just overall, like, performance style phones. But when it comes to the camera, is definitely where it struggles. It's definitely where this is not a top 10 camera of the year. To me, it's definitely a B. I'd say a B plus. B plus is where I'd put it. And let me explain why. So obviously, yes, we have, the triple camera setup with the 48 megapixel sensor and, well, oh gosh, I sound like Juan saying, sorry, Juan. Obviously, we have the 48 megapixel sensor, the wide angle sensor and the telephoto sensor. So obviously, we have the holy trinity of cameras, because, everyone just likes having those specific setup of cameras on everything nowadays. And there's a reason why I say it's always a B plus, even though, yes, you can definitely get some good shots in the morning when there's a lot of sunlight around. It's plenty bright outside. You can definitely get some incredible shots. Clearly, you can. But when it comes to nighttime is where you definitely see that it's struggling. And I agree with Juan when he made this statement, because I've gotten the same exact experience, is that this is no longer a hardware problem in terms of, why these phones don't perform that well in terms of camera. And in terms of camera performance, it's not a hardware problem anymore. The hardware is all there. That's why if you look at the sensors inside of the OnePlus 7 Pro, it has incredible sensors. And, when you use another application, then yeah, it looks great. It's more of a software thing. Like, now, it definitely is a software thing. Now, OnePlus definitely needs to, refine their camera software and make it more, I'd say, up to par with what the hardware is doing. Because, there's some shutter lag, which there shouldn't be, especially with a phone with, this much raw power. There shouldn't be any shutter lag, and it should be just instantaneous, but there is. And it gets annoying sometimes. And it's definitely just a camera optimization that they have to do. Like, they just have to go in and optimize the software. And it's just a software fix. That's all it will need, is just a quick software fix. This isn't like, we have to make a whole new phone. No, it's a quick and easy software fix, which they already added a software feature, which was a steady camera mode. And so they clearly can do it. They can. But it just depends if they want to, And to me, the camera, this is one of the reasons why it was hard for me when I had my OnePlus 6 to switch from the Pixel, because I love my Pixel 2. I really love my Pixel 2. And I love the Pixel brand in general. But at the same time, I was like, look, these phones don't always operate the best. They always run slow. It's mainly just the camera. And I think to me, it's like, I'm willing to make that compromise because because I can still get good shots. I'm not going to complain about my shots. But to me, I'd rather have that more performance because I want to do more. And that's essentially why, I was willing to make that compromise, because I'm happy with a B plus camera. It's not bad. It's a good camera. Like, a lot of you guys see the shots that I take, and a lot of them come out really nice. Like, if you saw the photos that I posted regarding the Carol of the Lights, obviously, yes, the video, that's, it's going to be dark. But when the lights came on and I used the night mode, yeah, the shots came out really nice. Like, they look nice. They look good. A lot of people really like them. And, so you can definitely get some good shots that people like, for the Instagrams and stuff like that. And you can obviously, and since there's a lot of raw data there, you can obviously edit it later. But it's always the weak spot, but I think OnePlus definitely made a better stride this year for sure. Especially with the OnePlus 7 Pro. I think they did do a better stride. That's me being honest. And I think from there, let's talk about the overall, because this is, like I mentioned before, this is a very interesting year for smartphones. This is clearly one of the most competitive years we've had in a while, for sure, because everybody made a winner. Like, obviously, some people dogged the Google Pixel 4 and stuff like that, but Google definitely made a good phone. Like, everybody made a good phone this year. Like, Samsung made a good phone, LG made a good phone, Sony made a good phone, OnePlus made multiple good phones. Google, whether you believe it or not, I think the Pixel 4 is definitely a good phone. And obviously the iPhones were like, whoa, talk about a glow up. The iPhones definitely glowed this year. And like I said, it's a very competitive year. And I think the OnePlus 7 Pro, I do treat it as like one of the better phones of the year. I know like a lot of people have mixed opinions about the phone because, curved displays, which I'll be honest, like I mentioned before, and I've even talked about it, I don't like curved displays because I think it's just very unnecessary. It makes putting screen protectors on much more difficult because it's hard to find real screen protectors that work with them, and it just becomes very annoying. And obviously screen glare and things like that. However, that with everything else you're getting, I definitely consider it one of the better phones of the year, for sure. I do think it's up there. Like, obviously, in terms of phones, like, we're talking about comparing it to the Galaxy S10, S10 Plus, S10e, Note 10, Note 10 Plus, the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, Pro, or iPhone 11 Pro in general, the Pixel 4, Pixel 4 XL, obviously the LG V50, and the LG G8 as well. And I think overall, I think it's definitely not near the bottom of the pack, for sure. I know a lot of people are mixed bag because they're like, oh, OnePlus didn't put all these features. They took away the headphone jack. They still didn't put wireless charging on these things, like no IP rating. And it's also like, it's crazy because it's like, and the main comparison everyone has with the 7 Pro is comparing it to the 7T. And this is where, you have to argue with people a little bit, because I wouldn't say argue, but you have to be logical about it. Because, okay, so the OnePlus 7 Pro has the A55, and then the OnePlus 7T has the A55 Plus, and people are like, oh, the A55 Plus is superior to the A55, and I'm like, not really. It's like barely minuscule. It's like we're talking about less than like 5% performance gain, which is nothing. And we're talking about very minimal, especially if we're talking about Geekbench scores. Like, come on, guys. Like, we can't quantify like actual performance gain from Geekbench scores. We can't. It doesn't, like, you can't just say that's gospel and like, oh yeah, this is why it's better. No, because as Juan also proved when he did a video editing test, the fact that the 7T doesn't have a heat pipe inside of it, it definitely is going to run hotter. And when you do more intensive stuff, it will like thermal throttle for sure. And it won't be able to handle those video editing tasks, as well as the 7 Pro, because the 7 Pro, as we mentioned, you spend more for more premium parts. And that's what OnePlus did, is for the 7 Pro, they definitely put a lot of premium parts inside of it for sure. I think a lot of people don't realize that. And when you think about it, I think that's why, for me, I would always, depending on the person, I would usually recommend the 7 Pro more, especially because on Black Friday, the 7 Pro is on a much better deal than the 7T because you got a much bigger storage option. You had, same amount of RAM and everything, because the problem with the 7T is that you only get one model. It's the 8GB RAM, 120 gigabytes of storage. That's it. That's all you get. When the 7 Pro, you get a much higher resolution display. You get pretty much the same camera. Well, yeah, they're identical sensors. And you also get, more storage, same amount of RAM, and, for less, because it was on sale for $549. And normally the T goes for $599. So, that's where I tell people, yeah, the 7 Pro for sure was a good deal for Black Friday. And I know a lot of people that bought it. And obviously in the comparison sake, because I know a lot of people have been doing this, like they've been comparing the 7T with the iPhone 11 and, the 11 Pro and, stuff like that. And I think the 7 Pro definitely holds its own as a good smartphone. I think it definitely does. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year, for sure. Obviously, I've used the LG V50, and I really love the V50. My time with it was incredible. And it definitely is an underrated phone. And I think the 7 Pro is also a semi-underrated phone to a degree because, that's what always happens with OnePlus is people always say, wait till the later half of the year. If you didn't like the phone that came out in the beginning, just wait till the later half of the year, then you'll get the better phone. And sometimes that would be the case, like especially during the times of the 3 and specifically during the times of the OnePlus 3 and the 3T. The 3T was definitely a better buy than the 3. Then obviously we jumped to the 5 and the 5T and then the 6 and the 6T, which a lot of people, I will say, I will agree with it, that even though the loss of the headphone jack was pretty bad with the 3T, with the 6T, that I still liked it more than the 6, because the 6 is obviously just, it was okay battery life, and then obviously the 6T was like, oof, that's definitely much better. And one thing I will also say too is because that while I've had my OnePlus 7 Pro, I definitely bought some OnePlus accessories to go with it, and I see why it's so nice, like just having everything in an ecosystem. It's definitely nice because obviously I'm already familiar with that with my iPad and using it with Macs and using it with iPhones and stuff like that, AirPods. And with my OnePlus 7 Pro, I bought the Bullets Wireless 3, and I've been really enjoying it, especially putting them together. It's been definitely fun having them together, and I've definitely seen like just so much more, not only just in terms of just easy connectivity and just it connecting so easily to my phone, just undo the magnet and then bam, it's connected to my phone, but also like using the EQ settings and everything, and it's just been really nice and obviously great battery life on them. So that's why I said, I think overall for me, my overall thoughts, I do believe in terms of performance and like where the OnePlus 7 Pro falls in terms of this year of smartphones, I think it's easily one of the top 5. And if it was up to me, and I even said this when the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus came out, I do believe the OnePlus 7 Pro is a better phone overall than the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus for sure. I know a lot of people are like, whoa, Josh, you're crazy to think about that. I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy. The Note's the best phone of the year, period. And I'm like, it's just the Note 10 definitely this year was not that good. I wouldn't hype it up. I definitely wouldn't. It's definitely not something to think about. But I think overall I like the OnePlus 7 Pro more than the Note because you would get the same experience. Yes, in terms of cameras, like I said, cameras are a very subjective thing. But I would say for sure, I like the 7 Pro more than the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus. I like them more. Even though, yes, like water resistance is nice, wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, all these nice features. But it's also like, what are you really giving up, And something to think about. In terms of, do I think it's better than the iPhone this year? Yeah, it's definitely hard because the iPhone cameras this year came out really, really good. And obviously, the battery life improvement has been astonishing with the iPhones. Like 2-day battery life with the Pro is absurd. Like that is absurd. And I don't know what Apple did, but that better, like whether it be a better processor or better software optimization and semi bigger batteries, I don't know. It's crazy how they were to get that much out of it. Do I think the OnePlus 7 Pro holds a candle to the iPhones? Like, I think in terms of if you want a smooth Android experience and, at a good price too, because the OnePlus 7 and the 7T, the 7 Pro is definitely a good price right now. It definitely is. Do I recommend it over the T? I think it just depends on what you care about. Like, if you don't care about the Quad HD display, you don't care about, the heat pipe and things like that, then yeah, I would just go for the 7T. It's a good option. But obviously, if you want more storage and everything, then yes, it would make sense to upgrade to the Pro. And I don't think you'd be disappointed because you're going to get similar experience. The only difference is, getting those, screen protector is going to be a pain in the butt. But, it's something, like, it's give and take, because you're paying for a more premium option. That's what's happening. Overall, I really like my OnePlus 7 Pro. It's definitely going to be my daily driver for a long time coming because anyone that knows me, I always like to switch phones a lot. But I haven't been this satisfied with the phone besides my Pixel 2, for a long time. I've just been so happy with this phone. I've loved every second I've had with it. Obviously, with the Bullets wireless, I'm enjoying it even more. And just overall, it's been a helpful tool. Like, to me, it's definitely been a helpful tool. Obviously, calls have been incredible with the phone. I get good reception. Like watching videos, watching Netflix is nice. Obviously, with Dolby Atmos on it. And then, it's been really nice. And then obviously, it's like what I tell you guys. I can't tell you what to buy, Like, because it's your money, you use it the way you want to. But I can only give you my opinions and my recommendations. And if you're looking for a new Android phone and you don't care about the iPhones, then I would think about the OnePlus 7 Pro. I would think about it as an option for you if you really want to. I think for people that, want to go in the direction of more, like, asking that question, like, what can my smartphone replace? Can it replace my tablet? Can it replace my laptop? Is there things that I can do on my phone that, I can, like, is there things that I can do on the phone that would replace what I'm doing on my tablet, my iPad, And I think it's a good question to ask, And overall, I think the OnePlus 7 Pro has definitely been one of my favorite phones of the year. Because like I said, I really like the LG V50, and I also really like the iPhones this year. They came out those two phones to me overall were really good. Obviously from Samsung, the S10 Plus is for sure my favorite of the Samsung line this year. In terms of the Pixels, I think the Pixels came out good. I think what they do what they do best. But overall, I get why some people are still annoyed about them, But overall, this has been a great year for smartphones. It really has been. And I'm really happy that, I got what I got because I really like the OnePlus 7 Pro. And if you decide to go in that direction, or if you're a OnePlus 7 Pro owner too, like, let me know how you feel about it, Like, send me your thoughts, like, what have you enjoyed? What have you not enjoyed about it? And, let's just have a discussion. But overall, that's my thoughts about my experience with the OnePlus 7 Pro. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It's obviously more of a free-flowing discussion because it's sharing my opinion, sharing my experience, because your experience may not be the same as mine. It may be different, maybe more negative, maybe more positive, Maybe there's some things I didn't catch that, that you guys just, are just going to tell me. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Obviously, Friday's episode is going to be really great because we have a special guest coming on the show to talk about the AirPods Pros. And obviously, a lot of people know my opinion on the AirPods Pro. We're pretty negative. But it was me being honest and sharing my opinion. But obviously, having somebody else on the show and share their experience and opinion about them is going to be really nice. And, being fair and objective, because we have to present both sides of the argument. Or maybe he might be negative too. I have no idea what he's going to say. But I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you come back and listen to the episode. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I love you guys to death. Have yourselves a wonderful week. And I know I just said that again, but I hope you guys understand that I want you guys to be safe and, be well. And, obviously keep me in your thoughts and prayers because I'm going to be flying home soon. So pray for me that my flight goes well and I just get home safely and just get to enjoy time with my family. But until then, I love you guys to death. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.